Good morning class, welcome to your daily current affairs on paper Hindu. So let's go with today's articles. See, Q4 ended, of course by this March end Q4 has ended. So regarding that, what are the investments pattern? So in Q4, in quarter 4 we will see now. So quarter 4 Q4 investments at all time high of 14.6 lakh crore. So for this particular quarter 4, which starts from January to March, has seen a huge investments to 14.6 lakh crores. So if you can see, quarter 1 the highest was 5.9 crores, all in lakh crores, then 8.8 in quarter 2, quarter 3 7.7 less, and then 14.6 very huge investments in quarter 4. So these are every month what is the level of investments, and that too this is a total one which we have described. Fine. And if you can see overall, than in government side investments, in private sector investments there is huge increase. So this is government, this is private sector investments, and this is the total investments. Fine. So India's investments narrative closed last year with a bang as January to March quarter record the highest fresh investments of 14.6 lakh crore, and these investments increase led by private sector. So because of the huge private sector investments, it is seen the investments all time high compared to the previous quarters. So no need to go all other details, this is what enough for you to know. The figures also I have mentioned. We will go to another article. So yes, today the Supreme Court will be hearing this particular case. It has been scheduled on same-sex marriage, petitions, everything. It is scheduled to be heard in Supreme Court today. So what is the update that we will be seeing again in tomorrow's newspaper. However, seeing today's articles, there are 2 articles on same-sex marriage. 2 are important again in some of the other case for your society part, GS1 society, Indian society. So demand for same-sex marriage recognition is urban elitist view, says Centre. So after once all these petitions have come to Supreme Court, Centre has mentioned that it is our responsibility. So leave this particular same-sex marriage topic to Parliament, because it is in our hands to decide whether it is actually required for the particular society right now or not. Also, this same-sex marriage is mostly elitist view. That means urban elite sections people are actually accepting this, and not the regional public, like the local people or rural people or anyone who is of morally into religious aspects. They are not completely supportive. That is what Centre has mentioned. So marriage is considered as an aspect what the government affidavit in Supreme Court. So what the counter affidavit will be filed by government in Supreme Court against the petitions filed for same-sex marriage. So that affidavit says that marriage is considered as an aspect of social policy of a nation across the world. It is within the remit of the appropriate legislature as the elected representatives of the people to define it, recognize it and regulate it. So it is our responsibility as a legislatures from Parliament. It is our responsibility, elected representatives, as being elected representatives representing most of the sections of the people. It is my responsibility as a legislator to define, to recognize, to regulate about this same-sex marriage, and the choice not to recognize same-sex marriage is simply a facet of legislative policy. So what they have mentioned, if at all we are not recognizing this particular same-sex marriage, it is also under the hands of legislature, because we the people, elected representatives, are representing almost different sections of the society. So we know what to do and what not to do. That is what legislature has meant on Supreme Court, in Supreme Court on its affidavit. Fine. So the Centre told Supreme Court on Monday that the demand for legal recognition of same-sex marriage is merely the voice of urban elitist view. And there is one explanatory article on this, in which what different religious institutions have given perspective about same-sex marriage, why they have denied. Almost all the religious institutions have completely denied this same-sex marriage. We need to see that criticism too, like why are they criticizing, why are they against this particular same-sex marriage when most of the youth are for it. Good morning, Sushma. So, yes, that is what they meant. Okay, we will see that explanatory article, so it will be clear for you. It's like just like a continuum article for this. The vocal article. So, yes, Russia seeks to right a huge trade imbalance. So, what is this article about? Now, Russia is having a strong trade relationship with India, in which we are at the negative end. That means the trade balance is completely tilted, the trade is completely tilted towards the positive end. The gains is with Russia and we are at the losing end, because we have negative trade balance with Russia, also we have negative trade balance with China, which we have more imports than exports. Now, Russia envoy has visited to India and he has mentioned that we will make a positive trade balance. Let's make it balanced trade balance. We will have a positive relationship with India more. In which aspect? We will again see that. So, the country wants to import manufacturing equipment including machinery from India to replace the West, says Deputy PM Denis Valentinovich. So, what his name is Valentinovich. So, he has mentioned that we will be having, so the country wants to import these. What are their main aspects? That Russia want to import manufacturing equipment including machinery from India. Why? On this Russia-Ukraine war backdrop, Western countries have issued huge sanctions on Russia, with which now Russia is focusing upon South Asian countries, especially China and India. So, China, they have already, like almost everything they are supporting Russia, and now they are coming with India to build up their more trade relationship with India, and we have also increased our trade relationship with Russia, especially in crude oil. So, in crude oil we are completely depending on Russia now, not completely but most. So, yes, he has mentioned that on the eve of Russia-India Intergovernmental Commission. So, 24th Russia-Indian Intergovernmental Commission has happened in India. So, to chair that, Russian Deputy Prime Minister has visited and met our External Affairs Minister Mr. Jaishankar, and they have discussed that we will go with this particular trade relationship where as Russia we will import manufacturing material, also machinery that you have. So, this is again this is the backdrop of huge sanctions given by Western countries. So, yes, that is what mentioned in this article. Just we will read out. Areas of cooperation also I will be telling you in which areas they wanted to improve relationship with India. So, acknowledging that there is a significant imbalance in trade heavily in favor of Russia needs addressing in rupee-ruble trade. That is why what they have told, to encourage India to have more exports into Russia, Russia accepted rupee-ruble trade instead of dollar trade. So, they are trying to internationalize rupee and they are trying to have a stable rupee value in international arena. So, what they are trying to do? They are trying to address these trade relations through rupee-ruble trade. Visiting Russian Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Industry and Trade, Denis Valentinovich Mantrov, said on Monday that his country was keen to import manufacturing equipment including machinery from India to replace the West. So, what is their main motto? To replace the West and to have huge dependency of trade on India, where India is already dependent on Russia regarding defense equipment or any kind of technological transport, or even these other crude oil imports. For everything we are dependent on Russia. At the same time, now Russia is trying to take benefits out of it. So, it wants to improve its trade to ensure there is trade balance with India. So, his comments come against the backdrop of Western sanctions on Moscow due to the war of Ukraine, war in Ukraine, and payments emerging as a major issue in India-Russia relationship. So first thing is backdrop of Russia-Ukraine war, due to which Russia's industries economy is almost falling. And the second thing is your major emerging issue with respect to Russia and India's relationship, the payment issue, because economy is falling, economy is trembling in Russia because of this economical sanctions by West. So to ensure there is no financial recession in Russia, no financial crisis to be existing in Russia, they are coming up with this kind of agreement with India. So they are going to export more in the terms of imports which we are taking up with Russia. Fine. So this discussions happened in 24th Russia-India Intergovernmental Cooperation Commission IGC meeting, which was held in Delhi, as I already mentioned. And what is the things that they are expected to discuss regarding defense, energy, agriculture, cooperation, and also manufacturing industries exports to Russia. Fine. So that is about this article. Next. So India is going to host summit on Buddhism. So what is the article? India will host international summit on Buddhism here on April 20th and 21st. Delegates from 30 countries will participate, a noble exception being China. So noble exception being China. Tibetan spiritual leader Dalai Lama is also unlikely to attend the two-day conclave. So who are not able to attend? China will not be attending this particular meeting, and also Dalai Lama from Tibet will also not be attending this particular meeting. Fine. They are unlikely to attend. India is the birthplace of Buddhism. Our culture minister, definitely if that is related to any thing related to Buddhism or culture, it is under Ministry of Culture. So the minister is G. Kishan Reddy. He mentioned that India is the birthplace of Buddhism, and the summit aims to find solutions to problems such as climate change, poverty, conflict, among others, and by exploring Buddhist teachings and practices. What they are trying to do? They are trying to establish foreign policy through culture, right? Culturally uniting people, and they are coming up with proper issues that are existing in the global arena, and then trying to resolve it as soon as possible. Fine. So PM to open a conclave. The conference themed. So what is the theme? Theme of this Buddhist conference: responses to contemporary challenges from philosophy to praxis. That means whatever happened in the philosophy, that means whatever the current scenarios are existing, taking philosophical backdrop from the culture and trying to address the existing problems. That is what the theme is all about. It is inaugurated by Prime Minister, will be inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi during April 20th. So within 2 days. That's all. And other discussions will be Buddhist, Dhamma and peace, all linking up culture with existing problems like Buddhism, Buddha's Dhamma and environmental crisis, health and sustainability, preservation of Nalanda Buddhist tradition and Buddhist pilgrimage, living heritage and relics. So protection of Buddhism, at the same time protection of Buddhist relics, whatever the culture aspects, whatever the monuments that are present in India, we have to protect it. At the same time, environmental aspect, human health aspect, poverty, all these issues will be discussed. Okay. Next. Pittas. So even in Andhra we also call pitta, right? Bird, a small bird, pitta. So pittas find a new haven in Odisha districts. So for the first time they are coming up with, so in the first ever census carried out in Kendrapara and Jagatsinpur, 179 of the nearly threatened, so pittas are nearly threatened species. As per the IUCN list, the nearly threatened species birds were counted, and information of their distribution, habitat, breeding were collected. So regarding their habitat, regarding their place of distribution and breeding were collected in these particular places. So this is in Odisha, fine. In the first ever census, Odisha in essence you have mangrove forest, right? So in the mangrove forest, in the first ever census of mangrove pitta birds carried out in 2 coastal districts of Odisha, 179 such birds were cited. So mangrove pitta birds are a nearly threatened species found in a few pockets of eastern India, that means in the eastern part of India, Odisha or even in Andhra and other different places in the eastern India, including Bhitarkanika in Odisha and Sundarbans in West Bengal. So, West Bengal is also part of your eastern India. So, definitely in these particular places, this particular pittas are available, and they have come up with this first ever pitta census. Okay, fine. So, the census for mangrove pittas, which is Pitta Megarencha, that is the name. Okay, fine. Next. So, in March, wholesale price rise shows to 1.34% on base effect. So, it has been reduced because of the base effect, because in the last month, so this is March, in February there was huge inflation. We have seen even food inflation has been rising. Even now food inflation has been rising only. But the thing is, manufacturing industry has fallen down. Why? Again, China has reduced imports from India in regarding manufacturing items. That is why our manufacturing industry has seen huge impact. So, huge impact, that is why inflation in manufacturing industry has decreased because of decrease in demand. So, wholesale price inflation cools to the slowest pace in more than 2 years. So, compared to the previous 2 years, this particular month has been decreased, and deceleration marks the 10th successive month that the WPI index has been declined and following a record high in May 2022. In May 2022, it has seen huge high rise, and compared to that, now it is almost slowed down. So, easing inflation, it has dropped almost for the 30-month low in March, aided significantly by base effect. So, what is this because of? Compared to the previous year, the base effect is more. I mean, because of the base effect, the wholesale price index has showcased a low effect. Fall in the price of manufactured goods added to the deceleration. Inflation in food articles, however, rose a 5-month high. So, I told you, food inflation hasn't been decreased. It will completely be increasing scenario only. So, food articles has seen increase, and retail inflation faced consumers and dropped 15-month low because of manufacturing slowed down. Okay, fine. So, wholesale price index has shown 1.34% in March, marking the most benign inflation rate since October 2020, with manufactured products prices falling to close to 0.8% because of fall in manufacturing industry prices. Fine. Next. So, WTO panel rules against India in IT tariffs row with EU. So, WTO has mentioned that India's policies have violated global trading. About what we need to see. So, India started levying, not started, currently it introduced in 2019 import duties between 7.5% to 20% of percentage on that particular product price for a wide range of IT products such as mobile phones, components as well as integrated circuits. So, all semiconductor devices which are being imported from other countries has seen this customs duty, imported duty, which is varied from 7.5% to almost 20%, which has violated global trade norms. That is what WTO has mentioned, which has violated the global trade norms and has seen huge impact on EU, European Union and other countries like Japan and Taiwan. Not Japan and Taiwan, that is what they have mentioned in the same lines of Japan and Taiwan. So, I will show you just a moment. Yeah. So, they have alleged that it has reached the maximum level, maximum rate of interest, and Japan and Taiwan were also filed similar complaints that year. The EU is the India's third largest trading partner as per the European Commission. As it is third largest trade partner, if it is affecting a particular trade, then obviously it will be impacting EU. That is why it has mentioned that these import duties are harmful. It is more than the global trade permissible levels. That is what WTO has also mentioned. Next. Yes, these are all again not required. Next. So WPI has been eased, 1.34% is the percentage, as we have seen. Mocking industry has attributed to decline in inflation to easing price of manufacturing goods. Fine. Though food articles, food prices is seen inflated. So it is been increasing in the positive end. So this is the explanatory article which I was talking about, your same-sex marriage. So the petitions around the same-sex marriage. Let's go with the gist first. So April 18th, a 5-judge Supreme Court bench headed by Chief Justice of India D.Y. Chandrachud is scheduled to hear a series of petitions seeking legal recognition for same-sex marriage. That is what? So now they are going to hear this particular petition on April 18th. That means today, right? Today they are going to form this 5-judge bench, court bench, Supreme Court bench, which will be headed by CJI, our CJI of Supreme Court, Mr. Chandrachud, and they will be discussed and debating this particular issue. Next, the union government has said that the idea of same-sex is merely an urban analysis view, which we have already seen, because the government has mentioned that it is almost like urban analysis view. Almost all the religious institutions also rejected it, and it will be threatening to our society. And it also mentioned that they said that it is the parliament and not the courts to have to decide about the same-sex marriage legalization. So if at all they have to legalize, it is under the hands or it is under the responsibility of government, parliament, and not judiciary, right? Next, the Kanchan Foundation has submitted the deep-seated stereotypes and mental barriers that have been constructed over centuries and cannot be dismantled by mere judicial ruling. So yesterday we have seen one particular free report which has mentioned that if this same-sex marriage is being legalized, definitely that particular institute, it might have a positive impact on mental health. So their mental health of LGBTQIA plus community will be improved. That is what one particular committee report has told, and there is one other foundation like named Kanchan Foundation which has mentioned that this kind of stereotypes is completely rooted in the mindset of Indians, and immediately legalizing or immediately dismantling that is almost impossible. That is what Kanchan Foundation has told. And let's go with religious perspectives. We will see the religious perspectives, why they are opposing, and then we will wind up the session, right? But this is a very good article. I sincerely suggest you to just go through this article. Fine. So, religious bodies and NGOs. The Sri Santanam Committee, so Sri Sanatam Dharam Pratinidhi Sabha opined that the concept of same-sex marriage is catastrophic and that it would have a pernicious effect on Indian culture and society. The Hindu body quotes the Vedas saying that those who have wives truly have a family life. Those who have wives can be happy. Those who have wives can have a full life. It refers to the stanzas from the Manusmriti that state to be mothers were the women created and to be fathers were men. So what this particular Sanatana committee has told that even our Vedas, our ancient religious texts is against this same-sex marriage. To showcase that they are mentioning that, so it is a particular person can turn out to have a family if he has wife, if they are wives. So their life will be fulfilled if they have wives, and Manusmriti text says that a woman is meant to be mother and a man is meant to be a father. So that is what their actual reason for life and their assimilation, right? That is what they have mentioned. Next, Jamiyat Islama, that is about Hindu, right? Jamiyat Ulama-e-Hind also opposed same-sex marriage, stating that the marriage between two opposite sexes is like a basic feature of marriage. So what they have mentioned, the basic feature of marriage is having a common relationship between opposite sexes and not the same sex. That is what this particular institute, which is Islamic Institute, Muslims, has mentioned. So they have also mentioned that Islam's prohibition of homosexuality has been categorical from the dawn of the religion of Islam itself. That means Islam itself propagates opposite sex marriage, opposite sex relationship and not same sex relationship. So the LGBTQI plus movement dates back to the Western sexualization liberalization movement, says Jamaat said. So because of the Western sexualization, Western liberation on this sexual activity, you cannot impose the same on Indian society. That is what Jamiat has given. This is another religious institution of Islam. Next. So similarly, Telangana Markazi Shia Ulema Council also claimed that persons raised by same-sex couples were much more likely to suffer from depression, low academic achievement, unemployment, and more likely to smoke marijuana. It said that in the West Global North, religion has largely ceased to be a source of law and plays very little role in public life. On the other hand, religion plays an instrumental role in shaping personal law along the social norms and family ties in India. So what this particular institute of Telangana Markazi Shia, again Islamic institute, it has mentioned that, see, if same-sex marriage, they are going one step further. If we are legalizing same-sex marriage, then the children are likely to face a huge depression and separation from society. The acceptance rate of this particular children will be less. So mental effect, the effect on that particular child mentally will be huge. And next thing what they have mentioned is that we cannot compare our Indian scenario with the Western scenario. In Western countries, religious impact on creation of law is very much less. Whereas, if at all we are trying to frame any particular law, we have to consider the backdrop of all other religions available in the society. So we cannot ignore or we cannot remove the religion from the mindset of people. So if religions are opposing, definitely you should consider that matter and take proper action towards it. That is what this particular institute has mentioned. So these are the different perspectives. We will think that yes, legalizing same-sex marriage is accounting to right to life. But what does the religious say? So religious perspective have its own ethics, its own values too. So we have to come up with a diplomatic ideology, diplomatic outcome of this particular issue. So balanced outcome should be there. You cannot favor completely religion, at the same time you cannot favor completely this Western elitist thought, right? So now we will wait on what can be the judgment on this, right? So there ends your today's session. We'll meet in tomorrow's session and we'll see other more interesting articles. Thank you for the session. Good day.